Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me today to meet up with Matt Armstrong to check out his collection of rebuilt supercars and sports cars, cars that he has brought back from the dead quite literally. We're going to be checking out inside the workshop where he's recently acquired a BMW M5 Competition. That's going to be a huge project, we'll check it out. We're also going to head over to Mallory Performance to take a look at his two Lamborghinis, including the Murcielago. What a story behind that. I've actually driven up today in my Lotus Emira, going through the running in mileage at the moment, but we've met up a few times before, including at the Gumball 3000 warm-up event at Shelsley Walsh when Matt came with his Maserati GranTurismo, and also at Petrol Hedonism Live at Nebworth House. But we need to run through all of these cars that have been many hours of labour to bring them back from pretty bad states. Plus, of course, I'm intrigued to find out more about that. Let's go and catch up with Matt and go take a look around.
Welcome, Tim.
How you doing?
I'm good. Nice to see you here. Bit of a different environment for you.
Well, it's good to actually properly catch up. People have been asking me for ages, when are we going to, like in some form, crossover?
It's inevitable. It is inevitable.
But here we are on a traditionally cold, wet English day.
Grey as well. It's so dark and depressing. I'm jealous of you, how many trips you get to do. I just get locked up in the workshop, so.
Well, I mean, to think about the fact that you have brought each of these cars back literally from the dead with what you've done and what you're working on now. We're going to go and check out your BMW M5 Competition that you recently started working on. And we've got to go and check out your Murcielago.
We can, yeah, I'm sure we can do that.
We'll have to go and do that. But do you know what? The first time we actually met was when you came with this to Shelsley Walsh.
Yes,
remember?
So this is a bit of a love or hate car, but it's the one I've had the longest out of all of these cars as well. So this, obviously I bought this. A lot of my subscribers will know that this was like the cheapest one in the UK at the time. Of £16,000 this Maserati was.
That was 16 grand?
16,000
for a GranTurismo?
Yeah.
It's like the engine alone is worth that.
I know, that's it. It's one of them. It's not like a best spec one or anything like that, but I wanted the cheapest one because I was determined that I was going to cut it up and put a Liberty Walk kit on, because the cheapest Liberty Walk kit to buy at the time was the GranTurismo one. So that was my plan.
Desperate to have
yeah, I wanted a Liberty Walk car. I wanted one that you don't really see often, so the Maserati was the one.
And you chopped up the arches?
Yeah, so front arches are chopped out. The rear arches are all chopped out as well, and then because of that, of course, you have to widen the wheels. So these wheels are like -81 offset on the rear, so it's basically like putting a wheel on back to front. A lot of people watching this now are going to be already that they're going to think, what on earth, if they've never seen me before, they're just thinking I'm an absolute knob.
Be triggered.
Yeah, they're going to be triggered, or they might love it. It's going to be a 50-50. So people are already commenting straight away saying he's absolutely ruined the Maserati, but it's not meant to please everyone, this car. It's a car that it's 50-50, but it's meant to turn heads and photos are meant to be taken of it, and that it does its job. But I love it, and I've sort of said until I get a house big enough where I could sort of park it in the living room, like sort of Stradman style, it stays until then. So it is awful to drive, but other than that, it's
but it's part of the story, right? I mean, you've gone on to do all sorts of rebuild projects, bringing cars back that have seen pretty bad accidents. Yeah,
that's it. And I enjoy doing that, and I learn so much from just doing it myself. That's the main part of it. I like to push myself. How far badly damaged can I buy a car and then restore it? I think that's what everyone loves about it as well. I'm not a mechanic by trade or anything. It's literally just something I've started off from the driveway and then ended up with a unit and YouTube channel doing it. So
having fun. It's a passion, right?
100%.
That's what it's all about.
100%.
So we need to skip past something for the future.
Yes, that's a future build under the cover there.
What's with the BMW in the corner?
So this is a 635 CSI, and it is very rusty, like very rusty. The engine is out of it, but I've had to put it back in to wheel it out the unit. This is like a long-term project. It needs a lot of welding done underneath. I need a spare ramp for that, and you'll see why I don't have a spare ramp in a minute in the video. But with this, Oh, I hate to say it. I know a lot of people are going to... It's going almost the similar sort of way as the Maserati's going with this one. I've already bought the kit and everything, and it was either, do I go back and make it all original, or do I just send it and go absolutely mental with it? But yeah, this is going to be wild when it's done, but I'm in no rush for this. It's a long-term thing. I'm going to learn how to weld properly on this car and get all that. It's something I got for cheap, so I'm not in too much of a rush with that one.
Because that's been a big story of it. You've taught yourself what you've needed. I mean, I've been watching your videos for ages. You're absolutely killing it. I love it, because something like this is now like GT4 RS kind of crazy cool 718 Cayman, but it started as regular car in a horrible state.
Yeah, so this was a Cayman S, well, it still is a Cayman S, but this had, I presume it'd been on its roof. We don't fully know the full story, but we think it'd been flipped over, but there wasn't one good panel on this car, apart from the bonnet. I think had a small scratch in it. That was about it.
That's not good.
No, but I knew from looking at the car, it's mainly all cosmetic. There's no real like structural damage. And speaking to a Porsche tech, he said, he works on the race cars there, and when I spoke to him, he was saying, oh, if we get a rear quarter damage, it's fine, they come off really easy and they put a new one on. I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. So we got it, and then that's it. And Porsche happily sell you the parts, the quarter panels and everything for you to do at home, but they won't tell you how to do it. So that was like the challenge of that, is working out how to do it. And still to this day, we might have done it wrong, but it works, it drives, and it looks mint, in my opinion. Some people may disagree.
Oh, it looks amazing.
It was grey. It's now signal yellow, I believe. It was hard. I like to paint the cars ones which they don't normally come from factory. So, but with Porsche, it's impossible.
Yeah,
because
PTS colours everywhere.
Everything. So, yeah, this is a colour that stands out. Obviously, with YouTube being bright and that, I love this car. There's still a few things wrong with it, which we are going to fix.
Nearly there.
I love this car. I really want to take it Spa, but I finished it at the wrong sort of time of year. So hopefully once the weather starts getting better, we can take it to Spa in Belgium.
For sure. Now, the Vantage, I followed the whole of this story. I was fascinated by this because how you could overcome things like the dashboard side of it, getting it signed off or inspected, we could say at the end. Absolutely
nuts, this car. And it is my favourite all-round car, this Vantage. Like it does everything, this car. But yeah, at the time, it was a massive gamble for me. It was up for £53,000. Someone had bought it from an auction and then tried and resell it on eBay. And I went round and looked at it, and I rang Aston Martin up, and like before I bought it, I wanted to get a quote for the parts, but they were saying, you can't buy anything structural or anything to do with airbags from Aston Martin unless you're a Aston Martin registered repair centre. So I was like, well, perhaps I shouldn't buy it then. So I rang around a few places, and I've got a friend who works on Nobles. He knows someone who works on the Aston Martin race team, and he was saying, oh, it's fine, there's ways around it, we can do bits out the back door, that sort of stuff. And you know, when someone puts something in your head and when you want to believe it's true and everything, you just don't listen to anything else. So I went ahead and I bought it, and little did I know how hard that they are to work on, with the dashboard coming out all as one piece rather than just the leather part of it. And
I mean, normally, I remember you saying at the time, normally, obviously, with these cars, there are literally robots that lift dashboards.
Yes,
it's just
built. It's just built by a robot. So it's not, a normal technician would not be able to work on it without the help of like a robot or cranes or things like that. And even when I went to Aston Martin and had it checked over, the technicians were amazed with the stuff that we'd done. They're like, well, we've learned so much from your videos.
How cool is that?
So the steering rack, it had a broken track rod end. And when I rang Aston Martin for a track rod end, they said, you can't buy track rod end off us. It has to be a full steering rack, £5,500. I'm like, I'm not buying a full steering rack for a track rod end. But if you measure them all up, it was the same on a Jaguar XF. So we bought a Jaguar XF one for like 20 quid, fitted that to it. The pyrotechnics fuse, which blows off when the airbags go. That was a BMW part, so we bought that from there, whereas Aston Martin want to sell you the full big battery casing thing, which was 500 odd quid. So it's working around all those little things and part numbers, but people call it a bits of car, because it's bits of everything, but I love it. That car, I'm keeping that one. But people might watch this video now and so it could be 2 years later and I'm like, right, I'm selling the Aston Martin. No, I love this car, I'm keeping this.
Well, needs must and all. Well, this is pretty cool. C63 saloon,
Yes.
but Black Series-esque.
Love or hate car again. At the minute, I hate it, but
Really?
well, I love it when it looks like this. But do you know, with this car, the engine is amazing. You've got one yourself. Like you've got the real Black Series, haven't you? So
It's a beast.
Yeah, it's an absolute beast. But they sound amazing. You can't get another car which sounds like this. Again, this one's smashed up, but I think the thing is, what people don't realise with these is the price has come down with them, and even I didn't realise the price has come down on them. I got this for £10,000, but the parts prices stay exactly the same. So whether
they're still 50 grand car parts.
Yeah, so like the full set of brake discs and pads all around, it's thousands of pounds, not coming down to like how much a £10,000 car would be. And the car has so many issues. Every time I drive it, there's an issue. But eventually, once we break through all of them, there'll be nothing to go wrong, hopefully. But yeah, it's a nightmare. But it's one of them. It's a child of yours that you just can't get rid of again. So we're still a lot more to come on the C63. But yeah, I know it's a colour which is a BMW colour as well, Isle of Man green.
Oh, it's the M3 Isle of Man green.
That's it, yeah, so we painted the Isle of Man green, yeah. So again, I wanted to do a different colour to what they usually come, and I seen that colour on the new BMWs, and I thought that would be perfect for that.
Do it.
Yeah, love it.
It's quickly starting to rain on us.
I know, yeah.
So a very, very quick look at the last cars out here at the moment.
So, Toyota GT86, this was £4,000, and they're popular in some countries. I think American people love them, Australian people love them, UK people don't quite get the idea of these, I don't think. They're very slow, but they handle well, but that's what people say.
It's a proper sports car.
Yeah, people normally say a car handles well when it's slow, and that's normally what this is. But I use this for like drifting, and we go drifting in it, we do track days in it, and it was a cheap car as such. It's cheap to replace parts, so if you take a knock, it's not too bad. I like the GT86, but there's nothing too much else that
I think it looks good like that.
It's
the red and black with the white wheels.
It's
the rain is getting bad fast.
Yeah,
very quickly, the Range Rover.
And slowly the Range Rover. This was a 2015, and I facelifted it to a 2018. This was rolled over. The previous chap who owned this, he was drink driving back from the pub, decided to roll it into a ditch, and again his insurance wouldn't pay out. It was on trade insurance. Obviously he was drink driving, and so he sold it on eBay, and that's when I decided to buy it and fully rebuild it. And this was going to be my car for towing the GT86, but Hannah, my girlfriend, has decided to steal it off me. So yeah, I'm looking for another 4x4 now.
I don't blame you. Right, let's run
get inside. Yeah.
Inside then, this is how a car normally starts on your channel.
Yes. This, to be honest, as it is now, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
It's not. Do you know, I don't think it looks that bad at the minute. I mean, actually, the bonnet is there. That probably tells a lot of the story.
Yeah.
The bonnet is there, so you can imagine what the rest of the front end was like.
Yeah. So this is obviously M5 Competition.
Yes.
F90.
Yeah.
Donington grey.
Yeah.
Which is the same colour my M5 was a few years ago as well. Not my car. I'm just gonna add. But this clearly had a problem at the front.
Yeah. So somebody's crashed it. Front end definitely had a fair bit of a knock as well. And again, there's a good story behind it, because this was bought from an auction of the previous chap that owned it. And he was like a driveway mechanic like myself before I had the unit, and did a lot of repairs on the driveway. And looking at it, and everyone will know from buying cars at auction, you can't really go and look at them first, especially like Copart or something like that. You can't go to look at them. You take the risk when you buy them. Yeah. So sometimes you get a really good price. But looking at it, you would have thought that this part is damaged, and there's no avoiding that. But this is all spot welded in, so these can be spot welded in. Anyone could do that on the driveway who's got kind of some sort of knowledge of welding.
I certainly could. Somebody with more knowledge than I could.
But that's it. But this trouble is with this one. The big problem with this one is that he's opened the bonnet after he's bought it and realised there's a hole in the strut tower. And this strut tower was all cast aluminium, and a lot of people probably will comment on this video actually and say, well, why can't you just patch in this area here? But this is all structural. It's all structural damage, and if I were to patch in a bit of aluminium there or something like that, it would just affect the whole structure of the car, and the amount of force that goes through that, not only from the suspension pulling it up and pushing it down and that sort of stuff, but also from the weight of the engine, it just won't be right. And especially because I film everything on YouTube, it's got to be right anyway. I'll get slated to high heaven if I don't do something.
It's got to be right anyway, because it's a 600 horsepower high performance car.
100%, yeah. You go 200 mile an hour in this car, and if it's not straight or the strut's going to come out the bonnet, you're a bit worried. So again, it's something, the builds are getting, well, the cars are getting worse and worse. The damages of the car, they're getting worse and worse. So I like to push myself, and as much as a lot of people in the comments would want me to go and get this professionally done, professionals at one point were amateurs. They had to learn themselves, and I think I can do this myself.
You throw yourself in at the deep end and say, right, I'm going to work out how to do this.
Yeah, and the best time to do it is on your own car. I mean, if this was a customer's car and like I said, oh, I can do that for you, then I'm completely wrong. But this is my own car. I can learn to do this by myself. I mean, I'm not just going to whack on a strut tower. We've ordered a whole lot of measuring equipment to replace this strut tower for, so it is going to be done right regardless, but it's going to be a massive challenge, something that I've never attempted before. And then on top of that, if you come round, we've got the usual, I mean, you've got the usual airbag situation inside, so the dashboard airbag's gone. Curtain airbag is gone, and so all of that will need replacing as well, and that's become like a thing on the channel now, so how badly the dashboard is going to be or easy to replace. But
I was going to say, talking of learning though, even down to how do you pull out this behemoth of a V8 and gearbox, because this thing is enormous.
It's absolutely huge. And do you know what, thinking about as well how people design these, I cannot get my head around how the designers come up with, right, this is going to go in that place, that's going to go in this place. But this thing is absolutely gigantic, big V8, twin turbo, and then of course with the huge gearbox, and this is X-drive. So you've got prop shaft going to the back, then you've got the drive shafts on the front. The most logical way I could think of is just dropping it all down as one, which seemed to work. And to be honest, it wasn't that difficult. It looks like a mammoth of a job, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was really, how could I explain this? It wasn't really hard.
It was just a case of working through it.
It was time consuming, So it's
obviously I've seen your video over on your channel of the process behind lifting the car up effectively away from the engine. And it's a case of just working through every single bit of it, because it's not like there's a user book where it's like, hey, this is what you need to do.
That's it, there's no, and again as well, dealerships are very reluctant to tell you what to do or how to do it. They want to bring it to you so they do it properly. They want the dealerships to take care of it. So there's so much that they can help you with and so much that they can't. But again, an engine is an engine. Once you've got the gist of one, they're generally the same on a lot of cars. They have the quirks and differences, but normally they'll have suspension, they'll have four wheels, they'll have a gearbox, and you'll have your power unit, and that is pretty much it. You can sort of suss it out from there, but BMWs tend to be quite good to work on. I've said that now. Now it's going to be, wait till I start doing that.
I was going to say, knowing that something stabbed straight through there, it's probably busted up a few parts in here as well.
100%. We found so many broken parts on here. The inlet manifold, I didn't know that was broken, and I actually started the engine with that. Like that, and I mean, if it sucked a bit of plastic up through there, then it would have been goodbye to the engine, or at least the turbo. I didn't know that was like that, so it's a good job we've got that out. There's a few, there's all sorts of broken bits and clips, and to be honest, I have no idea what a lot of them do. Like that, I don't know what that does, but there's the whole point of learning, I guess.
You're going to be working it out.
That's it. People are probably going to be crying in the comment section right now. They're going to be like, what? This is
the beauty of it. You started working on cars, perhaps not this extreme, not exactly far from this. You started working on them with the goal to see if you could do it. And you've proven that success. You've worked really, really hard at it. And how cool is it now that you're in your own kind of workshop setup with the cars?
I think it's you get guilty of becoming like numb to it. So a lot of the time I just come into work every day, working on the cars, and I'm getting through it, and I'm getting the videos out, and I'm working on whatever needs doing at the time. And you become so numb to it a lot of the time with what actually I'm surrounded by and what I'm doing. This is a childhood dream for me to have like my own, just being dry and working on the car is just amazing, because you just normally with your tools outside on the driveway, as a lot of people would be in the UK. But yeah, it's absolutely, I don't even, it's a dream. It's a full dream.
Talking about dreams, we need to head over to Mallory Performance to go have a look at your dream Lambos.
Yes. Yeah, should we do it? Let's do it. So we're now at Mallory Performance, which is a tuning company, and well, it's been part of helping me for absolutely years now. I used to actually work here as part of my job, like a 9 till 5, and then since then it's been a sort of partnership throughout my whole YouTube career, really, and that's sort of brings us on to this monstrosity.
Your Gallardo and your Murcielago.
Yeah.
So you recently, I saw the build obviously with this.
Yeah.
It was already pretty crazy. And
yeah.
Now it's...
So this was actually not crash damaged, and I bought this for me, really. Like, you know, it's just one of them things. I've always manifested owning a Lamborghini, and I just wanted one for so long, and when I got the chance to buy one, I thought, I'm just going to buy it. I know at the time for like my YouTube channel and everything like that, it doesn't really make sense. I rebuild cars, but I just wanted this for me, and I've always wanted to twin turbo one and that sort of stuff. So it's just, this is a dream build, what looks like to me. A lot of people, again, it's going to be 50-50, but this is what a dream build looks like to me. And again, every single person watching is going to have a different interpretation in their brain of what car they'd enjoy, and that's the whole beauty
that's the beauty
car
of it.
Ownership. But this is what it looks like to me.
I often joke that it's a great thing that we don't all love the same thing, because otherwise we'd just be driving around in Priuses or something.
Yeah, same car, same colour, it'd be so boring. And I think that's what makes the car community so good, is that so many people have different opinions on it. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people will change one thing to another, and that's like, to create something like this, and especially from just working on cars on a driveway, it's just absolutely
so cool.
Nuts. And every time I drive this car, I'll get out and my hands are like shaking. So that's how it should be.
What I mean, obviously this looks extreme to the max. I mean, you've got everything open. You've got the MA logo. You've got your plate strapped on. We'll ignore the logo for the moment. what power is this making?
So this is 1,001 horsepower.
That's crazy.
And it's rear wheel drive. So I broke the front diff. So instead of replacing it, because I knew I was going to break it again, because if the rear wheels spin faster than the front, it tends to overheat the front diff, and normally that was just what was happening all the time. So took the prop shaft out, took the diff out, and it runs as a rear wheel drive car, which if you've got a Gallardo, you probably should do, because it definitely drives a lot better.
Yeah, it takes away that dead feeling of the steering.
Yeah, and it's just so much more lively. So it's rear wheel drive, twin turbo, Push Performance together with RE Performance created the kit. Push Performance fabricated all the exhaust, put my logos in there.
That's so cool.
And then RE Performance tuned it, and you end up with this. And the wrap is we did a recent video with EA, so we've done like a crazy wrap for it. But again, I'm thinking it will go back to black underneath for like the summer, because I like the kind of clean look. But this was wild for the video at the time. And no, I love this car. Again, it's one that this is going to stay with me. It's a keeper. It's just a milestone in like my whole life and YouTube journey and everything like that. And I love it. It's got to scare you, a Lamborghini, and this is what it does.
I can believe it. This is a cool touch as well.
Yeah, so that actually illuminates. I've had the key. I don't have the key.
Really?
But when you unlock it, that lights up. It's awesome. It's such a cool car. And we've driven this to Monaco and back. We've driven it to Spain. That didn't go quite so well.
But it's been a big thing with your cars when you've completed them, to take them on a journey, whether that's to Monaco.
That's it. I think a lot of when you watch a lot of other people building cars, they're normally either in the trade, so they'll build the cars for like a profit reason, or they're selling them straight away afterwards. Whereas I build them to my own personal liking, and then I want to drive them afterwards. I want to build them to enjoy them. I don't buy cars for like a profit necessarily. It's more what car do I enjoy, what car do I want to work on, what car do I want to learn on, and after that I want to enjoy them. So we'll go on a road trip, and that's what gets to the attachment. You'll know yourself from the road trip, so you get an attachment to the car after that, and you create memories with it and everything. And we've done so much with this that I could not bear to see anybody else drive this car. It's like, it's what it is.
I can kind of relate. But then talking dreams, that has been big in many big big story, big videos, big projects, big everything.
How long have you got?
I mean, the background behind this car, it's so far, it's not crash damage, but it's so far from being a running, working Mercy.
So if people haven't seen this project already, it's 2002 Murcielago. This has always been my dream car since I can't even remember when. It's just the sound of the V12 like releases, and this being a gated manual as well. It's something that we're not going to see again. We're not going to see this or this type of car again. It's just ridiculous, and that's why I love it. So this one came up as an ex-track experience car. They contacted me, and because the car was in such a bad way, they thought, well, there's only going to be one idiot who's going to buy it.
Not many people want a car that's dismantled
and it spent its whole life around the track. It was wrapped green over the green that it already was. And when I took the wrap off, it was like this, which we didn't realise. And the engine, I'm missing the whole part of the engine. The engine and the gearbox was out because there was a problem with it 7 years ago when it was on the track, and the mechanic took it apart and never managed to get it back together, and found just so many issues. And I've been rebuilding it with help from my dad, who was a mechanic back in the day. So he's got a lot of knowledge on engines. Neither of us has any knowledge on Lamborghini engines, but as I mentioned, an engine's an engine. So we're still waiting for a lot of stuff. Here's the head of the engine, and this is an oil pump, which is £3,000, and it's all in bits. And we're waiting for that so we can put the rest of the engine back together. But a 2002 car is very difficult to find parts for, and very surprising how expensive they are, like the headlights.
Yeah, so, the headlight covers. But I mean, this began, obviously, like episode 1 and 2 is how do you even get power into it? And does it start? And does the dash work? And
that's it. Oh my, it's an endless amount of problems with this car, and we find so much more the more we dig into it. There was a hole cut in the transmission tunnel so they could access the gearbox. And then when we stripped apart this gearbox, we found that this gearbox wasn't the gearbox that came out of the car. This is an E-gear gearbox, which has been converted into a manual. So we think the original manual box has said goodbye a long time ago. Somebody has destroyed it.
Track experience car, right?
Yeah, it was probably cheaper to buy an E-gear box than it was to find a manual box. And then they've bought this, and there's little sort of holes like here, which is for a speed sensor on the E-gear, which you don't need on a manual that shouldn't be there. So that's going to have to be plugged up. And just endless amount of things wrong with it. The engine sits over there. But again, I'm going to have so much sentimental value with this Murcielago at the end, if we finally get it running and started, that me and my dad have rebuilt this and get it back on the road. It's going to mean so much to me, this car. It's just been my dream to own one, and if I can rebuild it as well and know the car inside out, it's going to mean that much more to me. So, no, I love it.
I think it's funny because obviously there are the very visual things, like the interior, that you've already heavily worked on.
Yes, so the interior's all been retrimmed. I love that. It's amazing now, like all Alcantara. So that
it's lovely. This.
Oh yeah, so
the black Alcantara with the green stitch, the leather as well, the embroideries. That almost looks new.
I wish you could see it before.
Like damp foam.
It was green. Everything was bright green as well. So it was all green. It was damp. It was smelly. It was horrendous. But that kind of makes me feel a bit better than new interior. But the best bit, in fact, you can probably see, that's what it. That's what it shouldn't look like, but
there's room in there for a big lump.
Yeah, there's a huge space for a lot of engine in there, and Murcielago owners will tell you that if there's a problem with the Murcielago at any point, normally it means engine out, and with the engine out, you've got to take the gearbox as well. So hopefully we can cover everything that's wrong with this whilst it's out.
Yeah.
and finally turn the key and drive it out here. But that's fairy tale land, and we don't know
No,
whether we'll ever get to that point.
I mean, but while you're at it, you're testing with things like trying out the LP640 style facelift bumpers and things.
So we put the 640 bumpers on, which I thought was a good idea at the time. I was like, yes, I want it to look like a 640, but I've changed my mind now, and I kind of want to go back to the original look with the old exhaust tips, the single outside. I don't know what it is. It's not normally like a me thing. I'm normally outrageous, as you've all seen from the other cars.
Wide body.
But I saw a picture of like the original one, and even again Stradman's one, which looks immaculate. I kind of like the clean look to it, so I'm gonna revert back to original. I think I probably would change the wheels because we want to upgrade the brakes, but other than that, I mean, I probably don't like the lights either. I don't the pre-facelift light, the pre-LP lights, these are a bit kind of lollipop-like, but I don't fancy them. But everything we do in this car, you have to be so careful, because you could break one tiny clip and it ends up costing thousands of pounds, which we've found out throughout, like £10,700 worth of headlights. So this is an issue with this type of car. But again, I enjoy it so much, learning about all of this, that side of things is kind of I enjoy it. Yeah, it's like playing with fire, isn't it? It just gets worse and worse. But
I can't believe, I mean, I have a little bit of an idea of how much work you've already had to put in to get it to what we're looking at here right now. Yeah. But there's a lot more to go. Yes, there is. So as I mentioned, in fact, I can show you on here. Some people might be interested, some people might be way behind them. So here's the sump. Could take this off, and the oil strainer on here, which picks up all the oil. The oil pump sits in this part of the engine here, and then attaches to, where was that? The oil strainer, which sits there, and the oil pump will obviously pump the engine and suck the oil through the bottom, and it's a dry sump engine as well, so the oil will sit in a little tub which isn't in the car at the minute, which probably is going to cost thousands of pounds as well. But we can't put the heads on the engine each side until that oil pump is in, because there's no way of getting to it after the heads are on, which is holding us back a lot actually. And again, finding out people that have done work to this car previously is like, it's impossible. There's nothing on YouTube, and there's very little people that know exactly like so much about these engines as well. It's really difficult, and it's whether they want to tell you how to do things as well. So we're sort of learning as we go along with this, but I mean, if this starts at the end, it'll be a miracle. So it will start. I have belief and faith. I hope it will start. I hope it will start. But yeah, there's a lot of technicality to it. But again, in some ways, you can say it's quite a simple. It is quite a simple engine. It's really two straight sixes bolted to one block. There's not comparing it to that BMW engine in there. It's really not that bad. But it's, again, this car would have had issues before this engine had been taken out. So it's what are those issues going to be? Why was it taken out in the first place? Yeah, so there's going to be issues that it's had before this came out. So God knows what they're going to be when we get there. I just want to hear the engine run. The day that this sort of fires up and I hear the V12 and it doesn't sound like tick, 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 when we start it, I'm going to be absolutely buzzing. And the more work it's taken to get there, I think the more satisfying it's going to be when you've done it. 100%. And it makes great content as well. There's so many people following it and enjoying it, and they can see like my love for it as much as anybody else can as well. And I think everyone's anticipating that final turn of the key of this car. So I mean, Mercies are shooting up in interest at the moment. Big time. That's the other thing as well. People think I'm absolutely wild for spending £100,000 on something which looks like this. But again, this is never going to drop below £100,000. Well, I would think so. So it's always going to rise in value, I think, 10, 20 years down the line. And when people see a Murcielago, kids are going to be like, what on earth is that? Why is there so much noise coming out the back? And but it's very much our generation, I think. This car, it's like, we had them on posters. That's it. It's a wild car. It's what a Lamborghini should be, with doors wide open like that, bright green, and this is going to be. Is it going to stay green? Have you decided yet?
It is going to stay green. This is, you'll know the colour of this. I'm sure you would.
Is it Verde Ithaca?
Is that what? I don't know what.
I'm pretty sure it's.
I just think it's green. But I think that looks really nice.
I would say, is there a sticker underneath? I think it's Verde Ithaca.
Is that what? Is that the colour?
Yeah, the pearlescent, like metallic green.
Yes, it's like a pearlescent colour. Yeah, I love that colour. So I think it's going to stay green. I want it to be bright as well, and we've done the green stitching on the interior. So yeah. I do want to keep it green. I think it's meant to be a loud car. Let's keep it green, and I will probably. I think I've decided on like a silver wheels, maybe a size bigger. But other than that, it would stay. You've
got some time for those bits. Paint comes at the end.
Yeah.
It's like you've got to resist the temptation to make it look too pretty now, because when all the other work's happening.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what people are asking me already. They're saying, "Oh, whilst you're waiting for the oil pump, why didn't you do the body work?" But when we're lifting the engine in and we're reaching over here, you do not want an immaculate car
soft,
that you can
fresh
scratch.
Paint.
Yeah, you do not want that. So. In fact, my plan is to get it all back together and then drive it around like this for a while and take it to car shows like this. I think it would get so much attention.
That's cool.
Like, what Murcielago do you see in this state? I think it'd be brilliant like this.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, mega. Well, congratulations on all of your success with everything. So exciting to see, and to see the passion for these kind of projects and this kind of work is. I don't even know where you begin with it. But
well, you couldn't do it without passion, I tell you that. If you didn't like it, you could not do it. This would have been in the bin a long time ago.
For sure. Awesome. Thank you very much for having me to visit. It's been cool.
No, thanks for coming.
It's getting towards the end of the day. It started to get really quite windy, but what an opportunity to visit, to come and catch up with Matt, to take a look around the cars and to understand a bit more about it all. What started as a passion for tinkering with cars that became rebuilding complete accident damaged cars into full projects, to go from something that you might have dismissed as never ever getting back on the road into a car that he can take off on a road trip, to enjoy and to share that full process. As we said, it is very much a passion. You see that when walking around with him. I can't thank him enough for the time to come and discover the cars and see a little bit more, especially the undertakings of things like the M5 Competition and also that Murcielago. Huge projects, but very exciting to think about what those are going to be like when they're finished, when they're eventually out on the road and able to be driven. Matt's channel is absolutely flying. A huge congratulations to him and the team for their success as well. So exciting to see. Do go and follow, give a subscribe if you haven't already. But for now, with it as cold as it is, I think it's time to wrap it up. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Appreciate your support as always. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.